Welcome to the Brothers Craft Time Sharing Hour. This is a podcast of creative sibling rivalry, and I am your older brother host, Jeff, and I'm joined as always by my brilliant, talented, sweet, beautiful baby brother, Dan. Dan, say hello.
Hi. Hello. You said hello.
I appreciate your willingness to follow instructions.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad. I was a little dismayed when you said I can't remember all the things you said, like handsome, cherubic, intelligent, something or other, brother.
I think you hit 1 out of 3.
All right.
1 out of 3.
Well, that was close.
Including brother.
I kept thinking, have I met him? Because he sounds nice. That sounds...
That guy's sweet.
Is he the one that Mom kept in the attic? Is that who that is?
Yeah, eat your fish heads. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
We are recording this on Mother's Day. And did you send Mom the ceremonial bucket of fish heads just to remind her about Stanley?
about her sins. I hope she fed him before she headed off to Europe. She really is in Europe. This is confusing. This is confusing because one of these things is entirely false and the other thing is real, but it's actually very hard to tell which one is which. So this is actually pretty confusing. She is in Budapest, maybe? Is that where she is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Budapest, but you always get pronunciation right, as I've learned.
I'm
now, Dan,
saying, bacteriophages.
Could you spell Budapest for us?
It's like there's a B, BOOTYPIS.
So this is a podcast of creative sibling rivalry, and
there might be an X. Is there an X, like that thing when an X makes like a Z sound? I think that might be in there. Like
I've been
towards
feeling
the
like
end.
we've been doing a lot of talking lately, Dan, and we haven't been doing a lot of showing. You know, it's right there in the title, creative sibling rivalry. Really, the podcast has become kind of didactic, right? A lot of lecture time, a lot of research paper, and I think, you know, when you and I both look back on art school, our favorite moments were the papers, the essays, the mandatory presentations, weren't they?
Oh, for sure. I loved sounding like that I was an expert about one particular thing for, I don't know, 12 and a half minutes and then promptly forgetting it as I went back to making things with my hands as I'd always done. It was that hand making that was just really, I was getting in the way of those wonderful presentations.
Right. There's room for both. Theory and practice, but we've been sort of neglecting the practice. So we thought for this evening's recording, and I know I've been bogged down with the work that feeds the family, but not necessarily the work that feeds the soul, right? Which is sort of why we started this podcast. So we thought maybe for this evening's recording, we would sort of do like a Top Chef, Project Runway speed round kind of challenge, right? We would give each other a prompt, either subject, material, both. Go away, make a thing, and you've got a hard time stop, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. And this may not be a thing that we do all the time, may not fundamentally change the format of the show, may totally crash and burn, because the subtitle of our podcast has always been Jeff and Dan try and figure out how to make a podcast. So
yeah. Was that a subtitle? I don't know the difference between like subtitle and like when a thing's like not announced or whatever. Like if we just know that that's the thing that's happening behind the scenes. I think
like
there's an X in there. There's
like
an
a
X
subtext.
in the spelling. Okay.
Subtext.
Yeah,
you and your
subtext.
X's first with Budapest and then with subtitle. You think there's an X in both?
Yeah,
There's actually an X in neither.
The reason why I sound the way I do, where I'm always kind of like vaguely distracted, is because half the time I'm figuring out how to spell the words that I'm saying. It's just like oh god, I hope no one calls me out on spelling.
Has no one taught you that you don't need to know how to spell a thing before you say it?
No. Well, I mean, I know that, but I just I know that. I just live in fear that at any given moment, someone will ask me to spell a thing or to write literally anything in lowercase letters. That's pretty much my perpetual state of fear.
Yeah. We might just throw out the whole conceit of the episode of us making things and just really dig into those weird daily irrational fears that you and I have, like, and I'm not talking about like arachnophobia, fear of heights, stuff like that, but just like fear like that all the time, that like somebody's just gonna ask you why you're in a place. I always have that fear. Like, what are you,
and you're not gonna have a good answer.
Justify why you're here. I don't. They've been paying me for a few years, and I thought, well, Monday they pay me too.
But you're not even at work. You're just at Safeway.
I'm not at work. No,
it's really.
I'm just picking up some milk. Why are you here? There's milk, and I thought I'd gotten milk here before, and
it's like Max Brooks's World War Z, where some of the people, there's a percentage of the population who actually they couldn't deal with this. They couldn't deal with being eaten or running for their lives, and so they just pretended to be zombies. And so like a percentage of the zombies were not actually zombies, just people who couldn't cope. That's you. As soon as someone asks you what you're doing and you're at Safeway, you just immediately begin stocking shelves. You're like, well I just this is it. And then you don't stop for 13 years. You just keep stocking the shelves and showing up to work. Nobody pays him. He just got asked one time why he's here.
I feel like you've just described at least a few people that I went to high school with. Like, it started as a summer job, and then shit.
But I know it's such a hassle to like tell them that you're leaving and stuff. So
you don't want to hurt feelings. Right?
I don't want to be that guy who's like, I don't want to do this anymore because I got other stuff. I don't want to be that guy. So I'm just gonna keep doing this. You can give me money or not. I will be here either way. This is a real deep dig on somebody. I'm not sure. Do we name him? Let's not. Okay, moving on with the podcast.
You know who you are. I'll see you on Facebook.
You know who you are.
Yeah. Talk to you at the reunion. Okay, Dan, I'm gonna ask you. Do you want to receive or do you want to give? First. I mean, we're taking turns here.
I have performance anxiety about both, so I'll just about receiving? Really? That's weird.
Did I do a good job?
Can I just go back to stocking the shelves? You have a weird relationship with Safeway, sir.
I just came in here for milk, and next thing I knew...
Why are you here? I just came here to receive. That's all. Okay. All right.
I thought it was going to be milk. Turned out to be something a little different.
Right. I'll go ahead. Wait, I don't think I understand your conceit. So we're going to have some kind of prompt. We're going to go out and make some stuff. Where does the giving and receiving come into that? I thought we were jointly coming. I thought this was like a team effort. Do I need to sign something? Like, what are we doing here?
Well, I meant in terms of the prompt, because we can't get started until we each have received our prompt vis-a-vis subject or medium. So here's the thing. If you receive your prompt first, you get that extra minute or two to have your subconscious cranking on what you're going to do about that thing. So do you want to be the receiving team or the kickoff team? Hold
on a second. Hold on. You're going to have to ask that question again. I have a kid interrupting. He's been trying to go to sleep for 3.5 minutes and has found it very difficult. So he's decided to lay outside our door. You know, like you do when you want to go to sleep.
I'm right outside your door, Dan.
Oh my god, that'd be fucking amazing. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I know, right?
If Tim Gunn just burst through the door like a fucking Kool-Aid man. It's like, here's your prompt. Yeah, we could probably go ahead. Just be a slight click when Carly opens the door. Go ahead. Ask your question again.
Okay, so you get an extra, minute or two for your subconscious to crank on the prompt if you're the one who receives it first. So that's why I asked, do you want to be kickoff team or do you want to be receiving team?
Oh, when you put it like that, I'm gonna totally receive, because I feel like if I came up with any measure of the prompt, I would then own it, and I would be crippled by even the smallest degree of ownership over the project. It's a very low bar for me. Whereas if I don't own it at all, I'm like, well, this shit is not my fault.
Yeah, I got
just
you,
make
I
it.
got you.
So come at me, bro. What do you got?
All right, so I'm the one kicking off the prompt. Let me ask you before I give you the prompt. I got one question for you. How many times, as of this recording, have you seen Infinity War?
As of this recording,
Because guess what I'm doing right after the podcast?
Because as soon as this is over, I have the movie pass. I go to movies. I go to all the movies I want. I'm gonna go make this thing in the theater, and then I'll see you when I'm done. No, as of this recording, I've seen Infinity War 4 times. 4 times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's super
Well
good.
done.
I keep discovering new things. I like to watch for which stone lights up when he's fighting which hero, and it tells you what he's using. Super interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
I've only seen it once, and I tried to watch for that, but my attention was too far gone.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of like action porn. Like it's really hard to zero in on what's happening. It's just a big blur. That's a weird thing to say. I understand that now.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all right. Prompt me.
Excuse me, sir, could you spell that?
Oh god, why are my toes sweating? Like the top
What
of
are
my
you doing
toes
here?
where they're hairy.
What are
They're
you
sweating.
doing here?
It's weird.
Justify your presence. Okay, so
Was that because that was the first thing Mom screamed at me when I came out of the womb?
Happy Mother's Day. Here's your
Love you,
fish
Mom.
heads.
Love you, Mom.
Okay, so since we've been talking about Infinity War off the pod so much, of course my prompts were going to be around Infinity War. I had a number of different phrases to consider here. Lost Cause, Zealot, I liked that one. True Believer, do like that one. Sacrifice, really like that one. But ultimately, I felt like something that you wouldn't have to be so direct and wouldn't lead you down a primrose path of, derivative work. I want to give you the verbal prompt 50/50. And I'm willing to spell that for you, Dan. 50/50. So that's your subject prompt 50/50. Are you writing that down?
No, I mean obviously not. Crumples
Why would I do
paper
that?
And
No,
throws it
exactly.
away.
No. Could you spell 50/50 for me? Okay. And then I do have a material prompt for you.
Sorry. How does Marvel relate to it? So it's Infinity War 50/50.
No. The prompt that I'm giving you is just 50/50.
Oh, okay. What does that have to do with Infinity War?
Well, you've seen it how many times?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The whole conceit, right?
Yeah.
A mad villain who doesn't want to kill everyone, just half.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool. But this is not a Marvel podcast. This is an art-making podcast. Moving on to your material
Can we do a Marvel
prompt.
podcast, please? I know there's like 50, but I don't care. I want to do it anyway.
Would you say there's 50?
No, see, the Marvel podcast would be cool. Not if we break down like the whole body of work in the Marvel various universes and comic book manifestations, but if we just watch Infinity Wars over and over and over again, each time digging
and the
deeper
podcast,
until it's just us sobbing about existential
crisis.
know
the podcast is already titled Infinite Wars, right? I mean, that would be the title of the podcast.
Yeah,
it writes itself.
Yeah, there is
at least one podcast I know of. I forget. Oh, I feel like an idiot because I don't remember exactly what movie they watch, but they only watch the same movie over and over again.
Oh, that's really funny that you can't remember the movie though.
Yeah,
it don't matter.
I've never even listened to the podcast because it was like they have other shows too, but this is like the one that they do, I think, like once a month where they watch the same movie again and then like talk about it. And I haven't even listened to it to know if they are even talking about the movie anymore or just like they pro forma watch the
you
movie
just like
and
knowing that it's out there. I just like knowing that
I know that it's out
thing.
there. Well, because it's an idea that you and I have talked about a few times. Was that what if our podcast was this other thing that didn't require us to actually be creative in this way, right? Like we could just do this little procedure and then see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, so the conceit is 50.
Oh, hold on, I got it. Yeah. Okay, your verbal prompt 50/50, and your material prompt. In the spirit of the ending of the film, spoiler alert, Ash.
Was that Ash? I guess that was Ash. Yeah.
Well, it had the appearance of ash.
Ah. Okay.
I figured ash was something that you could like latch on to. You know.
Okay.
You could read that as charcoal or whatever. How can you possibly in the span of 45 minutes can you make a Reiku fire?
Probably, I could if I was all set up. You might be able to actually. If it was already hot, it takes about a half hour if it's fully hot. All right.
I know.
Prompt is 50-50. Material prompt is ash.
Yeah, buddy.
For the love of God, don't ask me to spell it, and I'll see you back here in 30
Wait, hold on.
minutes.
You gotta give me my prompt.
Oh, I give you your own prompt? No, we do the same prompt.
No.
We do the same prompt.
Wait, did you not have a prompt ready for me?
I did not have a prompt ready for you. I thought we were going to come up with the prompt together.
Oh my God.
I feel like this should have been talked about in advance. I thought we were going to come up with a prompt together. You wanted me. Wait, hold on. You've known me all of my life. I've known you. Well, I've known you all of my life as well. Just haven't known you all of your life. You've known me all of my life. 32 years of it.
Wait, who knows who at this point?
And
why are you here?
You had 4 years of cognitive development before that, before you had your first glimpse of all this. And you thought that I don't know where this is going. This is very weird. Can I just stock the shelves and receive?
Yeah, you don't know where this is going, but I know where it's going. And I'm just like, this is weird.
And you thought that I would voluntarily, without it explicitly being stated, would do some work before the podcast.
I need you to give me a prompt right now.
I feel like you own some of that fault is yours. Like if I asked my 4-year-old to cook dinner with like the gas stove, I own a good portion of what happens next. You know,
why are you not a lawyer? Why the hell do you teach art instead of Your Honor? If I would have asked my 4-year-old to cook dinner,
why are you insulting right now a whole region of the country for no good reason?
It's a Matlock thing. All right.
Okay. So we don't want to do the same prompt. We're doing different prompts.
Well, yeah, because it's totally unfair to you. I've had this prompt rattling around in my noggin all day, and I'm just like, oh, I wonder what he's going to do.
Well,
he's seen the movie so many times.
Wow,
is he just going to make a wrinkly purple nutsack? Yeah.
That's to be honest, there's a very good likelihood of that. Whatever the prompt was, I feel like it didn't really matter.
I gave you food. I could have given you any prompt and any material, and you're just quietly sketching a dong.
I'm just knitting a bag for that. Purple, what are you doing? You knew what I was gonna make. You knew.
It's a little inside joke on the podcast that if Dan makes a collection of work, at least one item will be quite phallic, and he won't realize
that's only because I fought valiantly to stop the other ones. Like, why is this vase looking so phallic? It's lilting. Maybe if I just elongate it a little bit more, dome it at the top. Nope, that's way worse. I'll just work up a good lather of slip on the outside. That'll fix that problem. Nope, not fixing it.
What if I put I'm gonna put a little slit at the top of it? It'll be fine. Oh, okay. I'm making it worse.
So you're I'm really on the spot here. You don't want to do like a Marvel type thing? You're not doing a Marvel type
I'll
thing.
do any prompt you give me. But it's so unfair. Don't you see how it's unfair for whoever gave the prompt to just have this in their head all day? I'm gonna make an awesome thing.
I totally disagree with you. I honestly think that there's a distinct advantage for the person getting the prompt than the person who has been thinking about it all day. I really, really do. Because wait, hold on. So now this is becoming the actual podcast episode here. Like, don't you think?
No, this is what you do every time.
Don't you think? Like by every time, you mean every time we talk, not just the podcast. This is every time we speak.
Because I'm like, hey, it's real quick. We'll do like 5 minutes in and out. We'll do the prompts.
We're now at 21 minutes.
We're at 20 minutes, and you're like, I think it's better.
Well, no, listen. So like, do you assume immediately that having Having a time constraint is a disability in terms of making that it inhibits you from making, knowing you have to produce a thing in a set period of time. Because I feel like
I am so happy to talk about that next episode.
Because I feel like we could just do the same. I thought we were gonna come up with something together. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, your prompt is fragility, and it is
Could
entirely.
You spell fragility? Wait, how do I spell fragility?
Oh God. I'm sweating. Maybe my first thought was literally, can I run downstairs, look inside the refrigerator? I bet part of that word is inside the description for the manual on the refrigerator. By the way, that makes it sound like I keep the manual for the refrigerator inside the refrigerator. You gotta keep it cold. You gotta keep it fresh. You don't want that text going stale on you. I'm revealing way too much about how my mind
bad.
works.
You know the warranty's over. The manual's all sour.
No, I understand, like, the warranty runs out in 6 months, but if I put it in the freezer, I can at least double that time, right? That's how you do things.
You don't remove the staples from your refrigerator manual and then lay each double-sided sheet out on the shelves to absorb various meat juices and rotten vegetable drippings?
Wait, you have some...
Please don't.
You have some leaking issues, but
please don't tell people how I live.
Look, I have developed in my mind from watching Grandpa and Grandma. Do you remember them anytime they take us to the store, they would go in the freezer and out of like the old ice cream carton or whatever, they would take some cold cash out of the freezer. Yeah, I
remember that.
Because in my mind it just connected things like, oh, that keeps paper fresh. There's some question marks in there, but nope, it's just that's how that works now. So because that's the last place a thief would check is inside the ice cream sandwich box. I feel like as soon as the podcast is over, you're gonna frantically go and take your cash out of an ice cream box in the freezer. So fragility, entirely out of the color red.
Fragility, and I'm only allowed to use red?
Only red.
So
Only
that's
red.
An interesting material constraint.
It can be narrative, it can be figurative, it can be non-objective, cop out. But you can do I'm just saying, because if you did...
I did an acrylic pour painting for 45 minutes.
If you talk about like the looseness
honestly,
of
those
the
are
pour...
beautiful. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. I would hang one on my wall.
No, they are beautiful. They are beautiful.
They don't take 45 minutes.
I was thinking about having my 4-year-old do one of them. They're
Jesus.
Okay, all right. We've lost a portion of our listenership. I apologize.
What a dick. All right, fragility and only red.
Fragility, the color red. Mine is 50-50 and ashes. Ash.
Yeah. So ash has to be included somehow. It's you're not limited to ash.
And I'm setting the timer here. 30 minutes. We meet back here. Ready?
We meet back. Wait. We meet back here in 30 minutes with a finished product or like a partial crit.
Nah, finished.
Finished product. 30 minutes. Are we staying on the phone between the two of us, or are we hanging up? Hanging up?
Oh no, we'll hang up.
Oh, we're fucking hanging up. All right, man. I'll be back on 30 minutes.
All right, we are back from our making session. That's not the right competitive arting. I don't know. There's some verbiage there. We'll work it out. We'll workshop it. That's what we're gonna do. This whole podcast is just one long workshop. We each made, based on our long, thought out prompts. My prompt was 50-50 and ashes, and my prompt for you was fragility and using only the color red. I feel like I was pitching real hard for you to do another one of your blood-based American flag paintings. Did you give us another blood-based American flag painting, or pass on that?
I'll be honest. Like, the thought of using my own blood never even entered into. I was just immediately like, red paint, So I was really straightforward
that's so
and
weird.
vanilla.
So
on
weird.
That. I know.
Because my first thought was, dear God, I hope he uses his blood again. That would be hilarious.
How much of his blood could he fit in there? Yeah.
But that's true of most, like, usually when you and I plan on doing something, like when we went to the water slides with our kids recently, I thought, dear God, I hope he uses his blood again. That would be hilarious. We don't need water. We don't need water. I brought my own.
We don't need. Yeah, exactly.
Don't mind me. I'm just gonna terrify these children as I pour a liter of my blood down the slide. I have said that 4 times at theme parks. 4 times. I've been kicked out 2 of them. 2 of them. Disneyland. Very lax policy. 2. I don't know why.
You would be surprised. Yeah. It's amazing what you can get away with at Disneyland.
It's like you turn around, all the blood's cleaned up immediately. It's fantastic. I don't know.
Did you notice there are no bugs there? I think we made that observation the last time that we took our kids to Disneyland. It was like, there's no insects.
What would be the natural, like, what would be the benefit for an insect to be there?
Well, just people are dropping food all the time.
I guess that's true.
It's unnerving to me that, like, there's no, because they've got like the foliage and whatever around, like, Splash Mountain and whatnot, and you're like, oh, there should be, like, if I look on this tree, there should be like an ant crawling in the bark. Nope.
Well,
like,
I'm
getting cancer right now.
So we're really derailing hard here, but like during the sparkle light show thing at the end with the fireworks and all that, little known fact,
magic.
Those that sparkle magic, what's raining down on you is 95% magic. It is a little bit of gunpowder for the fireworks. There's actually 3% is just pure, like, cancer, and it kills the bugs. Yeah. So it's that's a little known fact about Disney. Oh my God!
Let me tell you what I want. What I want is a firework display, and I want it set. I want it timed like a Swiss watch, and I want it 3% DEET.
And I want it full of cancer. Full of cancer. Is it at that point that Walt Disney went on his rant about Jewish people, or was that was off the mic? Is that off the mic?
They probably they weren't willing to buy the DEET-filled fireworks for him, and he just lost it.
That's his thing. Oh man, that's gonna be awesome when you and I are sued by Disney. That'll be, like, interesting and stuff.
We're not worth their time. It's fine. We were just talking about how much we were enjoying the new Avengers movie because comic books is like what got us drawing as kids. It's sort of what set us on this whole path. So there's a lot of nostalgia and affinity for it. We love this Disney product, but then of course we're going to make fun of Disneyland. I feel like everybody has to make fun of Disneyland. You give them your money and then you make fun of them.
I feel like if I give my money, I have the right to make fun of them. That's been my policy with Disneyland and for strippers. That's how that works.
Sure enough.
Okay, so let's move ahead with our prompt. Should I go first? I'm gonna go first.
Oh, wait, you said strippers? Okay.
What did you think I said?
No. That's the whole joke. Okay, so who's going first here?
I see. I'll go first. Go ahead.
All right.
Let me just tell you a little bit about mine. What I did with mine was I had 30 minutes. I set the timer just to make sure I was exact. One of us went over our timer by about 5 minutes, but
by about 5 minutes, I was cleaning my supplies. Oh.
Okay, well that's fine. However you want to.
Oh my God.
It's okay. It's okay. However you want to spend it. So one of us went over the timer for 5 minutes, but what I did was I went downstairs and I decided I was thinking a little bit more about the point that I didn't get to make, which I'll shoehorn in now, that there might be value in compressed time and versus like the long thought out thing. So I sat down, made myself a hot plate, and I enjoyed just a little bit of dinner for about 10 minutes. And I thought about what I wanted to do. And during that time, I realized ashes. I really want to burn something because I have issues that I haven't worked out yet. Aside from that, I thought about 50-50. And I was kind of thinking about, like, I don't know, I was spiraling towards that existential dread that I always have about, like, why am I and stuff like that. Why are you here? Someone's going to ask me in the grocery store, right? I'm afraid of that. And so I was thinking, it's just neat that I get to, like, see the trees and stuff like that. And I get to actually like they only really exist in my mind because I get to see them. And so like, what are the odds that I'm here? I don't know, I guess maybe 100% because it's the only way that things could have. It's like a hard deterministic thing. Anyway, this is all while I'm eating the ribs and rice, which comprises my diet. It's I'm gonna die of a heart attack. I'm derailing here. It's okay. And so I was spiraling, eating my ribs, thinking about the coronary I'm going to have and about how I'm lucky to see the trees. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of, it's like a 50-50. It's like, like you're going to live or you're going to die. You're going to die of the heart attack from the ribs or you're going to live to see the trees. What you going to do? It's a chance sort of thing. And I was like, what's a real chancy sort of medium? And I remembered, I saw a guy on Pinterest. I should totally cite his name, but I don't know it. And he was doing these really, really immaculate, photorealistic, which mine is not, portraits and things like that using a candle upside with a paper or canvas hung upside down. And I thought, I'm going to try that. It's a risky move. I've never worked with it before. It's probably going to fail. Maybe it's a 50-50 shot. So it was just like that theme kept popping up, and I wanted to do the ashes. It involved burning. And so that's what I have here. I did a nice little landscape with some trees and clouds, and it's all burnt. And as I sort of thought, that material is difficult to work with, and it ended up kind of loose and a little bit creepy with the burnt thing, and it has a whole vibe. Like every material has its own vibe. This had its own vibe, different from charcoal. I don't know. That's my thought process. What do you think of this piece, Jeff?
Yeah, so it's interesting to me that when I read the image, I immediately get like a sense of a landscape, a sense of ground and sky. Was that intentional?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So there's kind of like clouds and then tree sort of structures and land, and it's amazing how easy and intuitive a landscape really is, whether it's paint or charcoal or candles. Once you get a sense of like the depth of field, just like the actual natural brush marks make trees and clouds. Like the brush wants to make those things, or in this case, a candle wants to make them.
Yeah, your candle brush. I get it.
My candle brush.
The second thing that draws my eye, because all the other marks sort of fit into this rhythm, right? The repetitive mark sort of becomes its own thing, but then there are these two marks that are more blue-gray than any other mark on the page, and they feel like they're made with moisture. There's one down in the lower left that's sort of like a dribbly mark. And there's one up in the sky. And I can only assume that this is either your saliva or other bodily fluid, or possibly some drippings from your ribs that will kill you.
Oh, no.
Just like, oh, well, you're like, I feel like you were totally like, fuck that
I'm just
guy.
charbroiling the meat juices.
Well, yeah. So this is I heard your explanation of how you got to this piece. Here's what I'm imagining. You're sitting at your dinner table and you're already like, fuck this. Like I hate
Give
Jeff's
me a prompt
idea.
you've been thinking about all day.
Give me a prompt.
Yeah.
Like and you're already like, fuck this, and you're like, I'm just gonna like it's not even a nice piece of paper. It's like junk mail was just sitting on the dinner table, and you're like, well, I'll just fucking burn this. And like you just went to town with it on the cigarette lighter, and you're like, in a half an hour I'll just call him back and tell him this was art. So I assume that you had wiped your mouth in a couple of places, and that is those gray blue marks. Dan, your thoughts?
Not far off, but hasn't some great art been made with napkin sketchy sort of things, hasn't it? Like, okay, so this is the thing I was talking about, like, when you have an efficiency, when you have like a time constraint, doesn't that force you to think about the thing differently when you can't labor
I just want to know what that's made out of.
Oh, that material?
I just want to know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's meat juices and a little bit of tears. If you ever encounter me
it's episode title right there.
If you're ever around me and you're like, what's that sheen that is on him, or you shake my hand and you think that felt sticky, a very significant portion of time it's meat juices and or some tears. That's a pretty safe bet.
Saying hello to you is always like saying hello to a toddler. Like, oh, I got something on me.
Oh, that's kind of crusty. That part's sticky. I'll just look him in the eyes. It's okay.
Wipe your mouth. Just wipe the mouth. Yeah.
Comes back 4 times. Wipe my mouth. You so did not. All right. Yeah. So that's my piece. What do you have for us?
Well, we're just leaving it at that. Okay.
Wait, the summation of your critique was, what are those drippings? Just to be clear about what the core critique was. So those drippings are candle wax. That's candle wax.
Yeah, those are my initial questions. Were you going for something naturally as a landscape because that's how it reads? And then also, like, did you... What part of your body secreted onto the paper to make those other marks? Oddly enough, you're the one who went with
50-50. I don't know.
Yeah, you're the one whose bodily secretions. Okay, so I definitely see Ash in this piece. The 50-50 reading was you wanted to make a landscape because it's just sort of a 50-50 whether you're alive or dead, and isn't it interesting that you get to see the world around you, like sort of take joy in the miracle that you're even here?
I mean, I don't know if it's even joy. It's just like it's just material. It's just trees, and the fact that I even see them as tree and a landscape, and the artifice of like sky meeting land, like it's none of that is true. That's all just a perception because of the me-centeredness of my view. You know, that I'm able to make any of that association and call it a landscape and see the beauty of a contrasting tree against a sky and all of that. Like, all of that is just, yeah, it's 50-50. Like, what you're either here or you're not to see that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to need a minute. I'm going to need a minute to myself, and then you talk. You talk while I do a thing here. Like I'm just going to do a thing and you talk.
I'm going to hear the microwave going with more ribs.
You're going to hear what sounds like a microwave turntable and a grown man crying. Oh, dang, that's another episode title. Microwave table and a grown man crying is a good episode title.
Just remember to take the microwave manual out before you cook your dinner, okay?
What, like a goddamn heathen? No.
You already learned from me that it's in there to soak up meat juices and possibly rotten vegetables. All right.
Okay, let's take a shot at your piece.
Sounds
good. That was meant to be like a Sunday sort of voice. All right, tell me about your process.
Yeah, my prompt was it was well thought out. It was well considered. I know you spent a lot of time and you weighed some different options. My prompt was the word fragility. My medium challenge, I was only allowed to use red. So, my process, I took a minute to think about the word fragility. You had also said that I could do anything objective, non-objective, figurative, landscape, whatever. And so I sat there for a minute and just sort of held the word in my mind, and then this is very exciting. And then I got to thinking about how similar that is to, I think it's called automatism, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. You would know, you're the pronunciation master.
Just don't ask me to spell it.
Right. Like where Dali and the Surrealists would really get into this idea of just like automatically moving the pencil. So I took a red colored pencil. Dan, I really honored your material prompt. I took a red colored pencil. You really did.
Total flagrant disregard for the time, but honored the material.
Flagrant disregard. I was cleaning my goddamn supplies. All right.
Anyway, you're right. So, after being 2 minutes over, you started cleaning your supplies. It's fine. It's fine.
Jesus Christ.
That is an accurate description if you add the truthful caveats into it. That's right.
This is fun. Oh. So I took a red colored pencil and I just started automatically sketching out what came to my mind, and I had an image of a figure that would feel even more fragile than the human form, but feel vaguely humanoid. And I had this idea of it just sort of blowing away. If there was a way to illustrate that, not with some abstraction, right? And then technique wise, I was just interested in what's a way that I can get material down quickly, and I can work with red pigment in a variety of ways. Can I lay it down with a brush? Can I lay it down with air? Lay it down with water, a little bit of splatter. So I did all that. And it was really,
I had a variety of options, so I did 100% of them.
I said yes. Well, because I think with a tight time limit, I was interested in getting like what variety of mark making, sort of like what you did with the candle. Like, what's the variety of mark making that I can pack into 30 minutes? What I didn't want to come back with was like a sketch of a thing, right? Not that that's invalid, but like I knew that I didn't realize that you were going to phone it in with a candle. I thought we were really that's fine. So
I feel like I feel like you could have read that in the prompt. We'll let the listeners decide.
So anyway, worked with a little bit of airbrush, I had my kids come in and ask me about 5 different times, what is that noise? As the compressor kept kicking on. Daddy's making art.
No, not that, Dad. The sobbing. And
that's
running
Uncle Dan
commentary about your life. What does that sound?
So anyway, and did some. It was really fun to do some sort of improvised frisket with the airbrush. I don't work with airbrush a lot. I mostly used it for painting like 3D models or sculptures, and so that's why I have it. I haven't really painted with it very much, but I thought, why not? And acrylic is something that dries fast and can lay down in a variety of ways. I don't have to worry about drying times between layers or anything like that, so that's why I'm working in acrylic. Easy to lay down with an airbrush. But doing these improvised friskets with like just a little bit of Bristol or note card or watercolor paper, and then just laying it down and airbrushing against the edge to get this sort of fractal form. I really wanted to get sort of a lot of straight lines into the piece. So anyway, that's my rambling diatribe. What do you got for me?
So when I look at it, it's like you have a really nice gradient going on there. I picked up the figure idea immediately. Like narratively, or I don't know if it'd be a narrative, but I just I got the sense of like a figure standing in just hurricane force winds, just having the meat stripped down to the bone sort of thing going on. It reminded me of this. I had you read one of his books, Ian M. Banks, but he has a book called The Algebraist that I'm working through. And it's like there's these dwellers on these large gas giants, and their evolutionary way of raising young is just that they're like slaves, like servants, and they just fend for themselves. And they just get, flung off ships and things like that off to the side. And basically only the strong ones survive. They just get torn apart in these winds and stuff. And this is just like straight out that book. Like it has a very strong narrative quality to it. I think you did a good job with the angular lines, not just keeping the figure in a flowing way, which would be the tendency, like fighting the material a little bit, and giving it a bit more of an angular movement. I find that's like often the case with a medium, where you have to know where to identify what are the qualities of this medium, what does it want to do, and then how can I run counter to that. So like with a paintbrush, maybe you don't do all of your strokes side to side, because while that's easy, it looks like that and it looks easy. Whereas if you do little X marks, it kind of makes a more complicated thing. Same thing here. Rather than just doing flowing airbrush marks, you did more angular marks that kind of run counter to what the material naturally wants to do. And then at the same time, you embrace the natural gradient effect of the gradient from left to right. So yeah, I definitely get a fragility. I would also throw the word in there, violent. There's like a violent sense to this, which is partly why I chose red, because it's such a powerful color, and so it's difficult to make it feel fragile.
Yeah, I think it didn't occur to me until we were talking about it just now, but it was just hanging in the subconscious, right? This, like, how do you know a thing is fragile? Because either violence is acted upon it and it doesn't withstand it, or you can imagine that and it feels real in your mind, and so you associate a thing with being fragile, right?
Yeah, I think fragility has sort of conceptually built into it the idea that of potentiality, that a thing is fragile, like that water slide I mentioned. We were at the water slide and my son slipped and hit his knee on the like kind of like rough sand concrete they have in there with the water running, and I just got like goosebumps, all that feeling when you're like your whole body cringes, because I could just sense the fragility of like his knee meeting the cement and like
meeting
the potential of that was like really hard. So cool. I think well done. I think we did a good job, apart from flagrantly disregarding the time constraints. I think we did an awesome job.
I wonder if I would have met the time if I ate dinner and then just decided to burn a piece of paper.
Come on, there's some value in me sitting down, taking my time.
Really, do you want to take it in? You want to breathe with the piece?
Yeah. I really did, because I was doing the can. I thought about the burning. I was like, that's an option. And so I sat there and I was like, well, what would naturally be done well with this burning? There's certain things that would be really difficult to do, highly angular, crisp sort of things. Any text would be extremely difficult. Not just difficult, right, but really incongruent to the medium. But I bet you the flame, being a thing in nature, wants to make natural shapes. It probably wants to make clouds. It wants to make trees very easily. So I always tell students and stuff, or people I'm teaching art to, that a lot of art is about cheating. Like, it really is. Like, find the shortcut. Cheat that thing. Don't.
Totally.
There's times to do the hard work, but there's also times to be like, what's the easiest way to do this? Because there's a myriad of options to make an image. But let's find the best one.
Pro tip: be lazy.
Be lazy. Cheat. Well, I said cheat. You said be lazy. That's all right.
But if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
We're just throwing out like bumper stickers.
Yeah, we are. And if you get caught, you're not trying hard enough.
If you can read this, you are too close to me. All right, that's fine.
Hey, who's an honor student? Huh?
Who's an honor student?
You are. Student? Real proud of him.
You are.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Brothers Craft Time Sharing Hour. Jeff, you want to give them those detailed links that you know?
Absolutely, Dan. That you and I both know.
We know. We know.
You've got a minute of memory. This is really for my benefit, because this is how I keep things in my memory. You're solid. I let Google store that knowledge for me, and I just ask Google what I need to remember. Oh, that's problematic. If you would like to see any of our work or follow along with the conversation, you can find us on Instagram. Our handle is Sharing Hour. If you'd like to tweet at us, we have a Twitter account, and our handle there is also Sharing Hour. If you would like to find past episodes, we put other artwork up there as well at our website, sharinghour.com, in addition to all of our show notes. And if you would like to speak to us directly, you can email us, sharinghour@gmail.com. And Dan, do you have any final thoughts?
Ever.
That's it. This is what you get to say.
Well, I guess I do kind of run on a little bit. I mean, this is cutting deeper. I'm gonna go heat up some ribs. Y'all keep making.
Don't forget the rice. Take the manual out.